Hi, everyone, and welcome to a joint episode, highly requested, but we weren't expecting. We have a third guest here today.
Are you guys doing a podcast? What
Alli,
did I just walk in on?
why did you start laughing as soon as I started talking?
Because this is a little unconventional, right?
Okay, welcome to the community show and the Inspired Move show. But one of the things that's so funny is we get here, we're recording today with Video Matt, and Negroni Matt's here. For those of you who haven't listened to the other episode Alli and I just did together, that was a banger. And Alli, we walk in and Alli goes, Kristina, do you want to interview Matt? I'm like, for your podcast? And so then we bullied Alli to be part of it. Now all three of us are on a podcast.
Amazing. Yeah, we didn't want to be a part of it. Now we're all a part of it.
Guys, I'm just going to say, I think that this one's going to be what? Chart topper.
Sorry, Alli, Kristina and I are talking.
Well, okay, we are going to chat. I think we're going to do a few episodes, right, guys?
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
We have to have a rosé by the end, but we're going to do a first one about imposter syndrome, which is something that I think a lot of people always ask us about, especially as we've grown our businesses over the last few years. We were kind of brainstorming things to talk about and what to bring to people. I know this is something that people really, really struggle with in growing their business.
Oh my gosh. And I think even also just the evolutions of, like, even you look at for Matt and myself that we met in the corporate world of luxury automotive. So those are two very different identities compared to where we are today as entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And we are in a brick and mortar space, but it's also very heavily led by service. Yeah. And we're a luxury gym, so still kind of in that luxury space. But I will never forget June 1st, 2019. That was day one of owning Benchmark. And I remember sitting in the office being like, great. How does one run a gym? I'm not sure.
Asking for a friend.
And this is pre-chat GPT too. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100% it was.
And just trying to understand, like, what do I do? How do I do this? Was this a good investment? Should we have done this? Mm-hmm. And then that, we snowballed for a couple months later. And here we are almost 7 years later and have figured it out. But there's still imposter syndrome along the way.
Totally.
How about you? Did you feel that going from, the Porsche world in sales to then transition to entrepreneurship?
I mean, you can probably make an argument that one feels like an imposter multiple times a year.
Yeah, totally.
Right? I think, especially if I'm going to speak candidly about the three of us, we're not opposed to doing things we haven't done before, trying things we haven't done before, right? And a lot of the times they end up being great things, but that's not to say that the first however many weeks or months leading up to it, you're thinking to yourself, this probably isn't aligned with me because who the hell am I to think that I should or can be successful at this? And then you do it, right? And that's probably the one through line with any successful anything, entrepreneur or otherwise, is you have to at least be willing to take the first step, maybe to fall on your face and to be embarrassed. But I find the way to get over it, the way to get through it a little bit easier is to make some sort of small move towards it. And you just kind of, you de-weaponize it almost.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the first step would be for someone who's listening to this and they're like, okay, I'm about to make a big move. There's something going on in my life that I'm excited about. But I'm feeling that like imposter syndrome. Maybe it's like getting into a new room. It's joining a mastermind. It's going to a Blue Jays game with a whole bunch of new friends.
Right? Learning how that game's played. Sure.
Yeah. Guys, Matt's still learning so much about the Blue Jays.
Sure.
Go Toronto Sports.
Okay. Yes. But what would you say to somebody who is like maybe coming up on that and like maybe some tangible tips that they could take?
I think even what you said about, getting in a room, joining a mastermind, really tapping into borrowing the belief from somebody else. Mm-hmm. And whether that is, and Matt and I were just talking about this on a different episode, of borrowing the belief from your partner. If you are blessed to have a wonderful partner in your life, that you can borrow belief from them and that they cheer you on and they believe in you fearlessly.
Yeah.
But if not, then getting into rooms with like-minded individuals. And we also say this all the time, like, it could also be a gym. Like, we see so much of that magic happen in the walls of Benchmark.
Yep.
And that's a gym. Like, people are coming to better themselves every day or, 5 times a week. But maybe you do need to borrow belief sometimes where you're getting ready to do a heavy set of squats and you're not sure if you can do it. Mm-hmm. And you have that imposter syndrome and you're going to borrow belief from somebody else that's doing a lat pull down, but they believe in you. Yeah. And being around those like-minded individuals that will cheer you on.
I think a big part of that a big part of you getting past the fear is trying to bake in accountability from somebody else as well. Because as great as it sounds on the surface to be able to potentially borrow belief from somebody or to know deep down that you can do it, the bottom line is that formula or that strategy is still going to force you to still make that decision for yourself. You're not letting anybody else in on your path or on your story. Whereas if I said, hey, Kristina, next week, my plan is to do 100 push-ups a day. You're going to hopefully reach out to me at the end of every day and say, hey, Matt, did you do your 100 push-ups? Because now I know, like so often with so many other people, you tend to do more things for other people first before you ever do it for yourself.
Totally.
Right? And so the idea of me knowing, shit, Bartold's going to call me later on today. And if I don't have my 100 push-ups done, she's going to throw a chicken finger at me or something.
Yeah.
Whereas, which
Or a
you know,
Chipotle burrito.
might not be the worst thing. I might not do 100 push-ups. But if I know that I do have somebody that is going to be there to check in on me, I'm going to make sure that that accountability piece is the part that's kind of running in the back of my mind to get it done. So it kind of speaks to the first part of what we're talking about here, with accountability being the precursor to pushing you to action, essentially. Even if you don't want to, even if it's not comfortable, making some sort of move as small as it needs to be. And in this case, using accountability as the vehicle towards it is what hopefully gets you through it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And even like, I know we're all coaches in the Mentor Collective, Chris and Lori's mastermind. And like, and you guys do a lot of accountability work with folks. And I think that is a really helpful piece, especially when you're entering like a new level, which, by the way, I don't ever think imposter syndrome ever goes away.
No.
Like, I was listening to a podcast of a guy who's like a multi-millionaire. He went away for a weekend with a bunch of billionaires. And it's like, that's actually like what you should be doing. You always should be like the smallest fish in whatever it is that you're doing. But he was nervous, right? Like, no matter the level of success you get, there's always that next level that, you know, might pull you up, and you should always be kind of striving for that. I love to think whenever I feel a little bit of imposter syndrome, I love to think of the stories of people I know who are really successful. And I think about how maybe we're not as different, like our origin story isn't as different. You know what I mean? Like I think about Lori, or I think about Jacqueline Johnson, and I think about these people who've had amazing success. And I'm like, they are such special, amazing human beings. And I hope that someone would also say that about me. You know what I mean? So I always, I'm like, oh, someone else can do that. Why not me? Like, I'm smart. I'm resourceful. Like, these are the things that I remind myself. And so I think it's really important to also maintain that like self-belief as you're doing it.
You're bang on. I think I saw something earlier today in my doom scrolling of this family who I don't know anything about that have never been on my feed other than this afternoon. And
I would kill to see Matt Arruda's Instagram reel feed.
It's really just like Australian Shepherds and Porsches.
Okay, yeah.
And
tracks. And
dog
recipes.
rescues.
Dog rescues and the Toronto Blue Jays.
I'm Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Sports
all day. And it's funny you say this because this is exactly what ran through my mind. It was a picture of this beautiful young family. They're probably late 30s, early 40s, and they are standing in front of their beautiful home that they're building. I don't even know where it is. I'm not sure if it's in North America. It could absolutely be in Europe. Who knows?
I was gonna say
Beautiful, beautiful home that they're in the midst of building. And the caption, I'm going to completely butcher it, but the caption was something along the lines of people only see what's immediately in front of them without asking how they got there. And you scroll through their carousel, and the very first picture is the two of them newly engaged living in a trailer park. And the next picture is she's pregnant, and then all of a sudden there's 3 kids involved, and he has gone on to go and create a business, and then she has taken part of it as it grew, and also looked after the home life, of course. And then all that is to say, the end picture is the home being complete and their entire family taking a beautiful family portrait in front of this place. And I think, you know, obviously all of these people, kind of going back to what we're talking about here now, all of these people, certainly, let's call it husband and wife specifically, how many times did they look in the mirror and say to themselves, coming from a trailer park initially, how many times did they say to themselves, what right do I have to be in this room with that person who might unlock this future for me? Or maybe not, right? Or maybe I'm just going to be fully taken advantage of here and lose whatever else I have left at this stage. But they took a chance. They created the action steps. They believed in themselves, right?
Yeah.
And to your exact point, Kristina, like they, I'm sure, looked at them in the mirror and thought to themselves, why not me? Why can't I do it? I know I have the work ethic or the certain pizzazz and magic to get to the next step. And lo and behold, they have.
Mm-hmm.
But it requires the internal belief to kind of know that you're not all that different from the person in that room that you're striving to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Kristina, you lead by example so wonderfully when it comes to investing in yourself and your business and getting into rooms. And I think you have an excellent approach where you have a nice variety of what kind of rooms that you're in. How has that felt for you showing up into, I know one of the rooms that you are in last year, this year, might be a little bit more even male dominant than some of the other rooms being super female dominant. Do you experience imposter syndrome, or how do you feel going into these rooms for the very first time?
Literally all the time. And I always laugh because if you're listening to my show or you've listened to my show before, I always call myself a little chicken nugget in the air fryer because that's like how I feel. That's how I feel I am whenever I literally do anything, because I'm just like, oh my goodness, there's all these people, they're so successful, and here I am just bopping around, like trying to figure out, like hoping no one opens the drawer too wide and I pop right out. Like I'm just always trying to be a sponge. But one of the things I always try to remember is just try to be as interested as I can be rather than trying to be interesting. Like I just try to learn from people and try to get as much information like as I can in terms of like being a sponge and being of service. I always ask people like, what are you looking for right now in your business? What are you feeling like you need? And then being able to like meet people there. And I have been around so many silently successful people who felt like they had something to learn from me, which I'm always so surprised by because I think of myself and my business, like we've grown it quite a bit. We we produce so many amazing podcasts like yours. And so I know a lot about podcasting, and there's a lot of these people who want podcasts, but like don't know how to use the internet. Like, and so I get to be an expert in that way. But then, I was just chatting with you and I was like, okay, I think I'm getting a new car. What do you think about this? And you're like, oh, you should do this. Like, right. Like we all have our own kind of domain. And so I think like when I get into those spaces where I'm feeling like a chicken nugget in the air fryer and I'm like popping around in there, I just,
The best.
good visual, right?
I get it immediately.
I'm also laughing because I
Shakespearean.
100% have heard you say this on your show.
Yes, and not only do I say it, like now people actually refer to me as a chicken nugget. Like I'll get DMs from people being like, "Hey, chicken nug," like blah 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 blah, and I'm like, "I'll take it."
Yeah, been called worse.
But I just love to surround myself around people who are like so much smarter than I am, and I could always feel the distinct moment when I've outgrown a room. When I'm like, I feel like not the smartest by any means. I've lots to learn from lots of people, but like when I feel like maybe my business might be at the highest it could be in that room, or I feel like, folks aren't like investing in themselves quite the way I am, or whatever that looks like, whatever that metric is. I felt that before. And so I'll seek rooms where I want to feel like I'm like among aliens. Like that is how I want to feel. And so I've gotten used to that level of imposter syndrome. But it has to come with like a big release of ego. And I think that that's something that people are not willing to do, where it's like they posture and they go into these spaces and they're like, okay, I'm maybe the least accomplished person here, or I've got the least going on or whatever. That's actually like your play. Like that's where you have the best time to play all out, learn, and like those people are going to bring you up with them. But when you go in and you're like, oh, I'm better than these people, or like I need to match their energy or whatever. I sometimes feel like there's a little bit too much faking it till people make it.
Yeah, I get that. The vulnerability piece is really big there, right?
Yeah.
Like the idea of showing up to a room, especially if it's a room you haven't been in before, with people that you don't necessarily know other than maybe online per se, and immediately drop the robe and say, this is what I'm working with.
Yeah.
And hope you're impressed.
What kind of rooms Matt going to? Guys, I have seen Matt water surf. Water surf?
Wait,
can't even get your words straight. I know it was
It was overwhelming.
jacket.
It was overwhelming.
it was a scene, let me tell you. Anyway, I think the ability and the vulnerability to show up to say, you guys have something that I can learn and take from, even though I might not necessarily be the biggest nugget in the air fryer right now. The idea is you are still part of the recipe, right? And you can help that. Yeah, it's a good one. I love cooking. And and so you could be just as easily impactful for them without necessarily knowing, because the reality is you have no idea what the hell they're there for. You don't know what they're looking
Big
for.
time.
You've effectively created a scenario in your mind about, oh my God, what am I doing in this place? And how am I supposed to give as much as what I'm looking to receive, and start feeling guilty? And then, oh my God, imposter shows up and off we go, right? Or imposter, not imposture. But all that is to say, it's not fair for you, and certainly not fair for the other people in the room, for one to project what it is other people are looking to get from you, because the reality is we've seen you work your magic in the rooms. I mean, literally from the very first room we were in, I think we were just recording a podcast, or I heard you speaking to somebody on a podcast, but we're relating back to the very first time we met you in Chris Harder's roundtable back in February of 23.
March
23.
It's crazy.
I know, 3 years ago, which is nuts. And
Happy anniversary after 3 years.
Yeah,
Actually,
seriously.
we've lived so much life together.
We
since
really
then.
have a lot
yeah.
of things that
Lots,
happened. My gosh. And I remember Alli had posted a question in that room, and there weren't a lot. It was a pretty intimate room, like 12 of us in there, maybe 14, and 12, 14 businesses, I should say. And Alli had posted a question in that room, and as the strategy of the room played out, everyone was able to answer accordingly based on what they had come to mind accordingly. And so Alli sets out this question into the room. You put your hand up, somebody else puts their hand up, somebody else puts their hand up, and the other one or two people go ahead of you. And Alli tells a story great, where she's like, I couldn't wait for those first two people to finish saying what they needed to say, because I really wanted to hear what Kristina had to say.
Oh, I love you.
And that's
so
after
sweet.
knowing you for like 24 hours. That's the value you bring, man. Quickly.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's
That's
true.
so sweet.
Yeah,
Well,
so sorry to those other two people. We all know who they are, but nevertheless.
I don't think they'll listen to this pod. But isn't it so funny how like years? This is why we were like, we're doing this in 20 minutes, and this is gonna be a whole talk
Yes.
show. But it's like, isn't it funny how like over the years people kind of like drop off or they drop in, and they're like, you know, there's people who are like so constant in your life who you do. Like we met in a room in Arizona, and we were kind of like, let's be friends, and then now it's like even today someone was like, oh, you're really tight with Alli, and I was like, no, yeah, like really, you know, like it's just a different.
Do you want to hear something great?
Tell me.
I was waiting to tell you in person. I'm going to tell you right here on air.
Okay.
You know what you have now become?
A pinned phone number. Guys, you heard it here first.
That's
I'll pin you. I'll pin you now, and
Make
we
it
can make it a moment.
And we can make it even.
Riley's celebrating in the
Our
background.
dog is very excited about this.
Guys, this
amazing.
is huge. Sorry, Riley, I'm pumping you up. I'm pumping you up too much. Okay, I was gonna say sometimes you are the chicken nugget in the air fryer, but sometimes you're the rotisserie chicken. You know what I mean? Like I was listening to this podcast one time with Jasmine Starr where she talks about this idea of sometimes in rooms you do the withdrawals and other times you do the deposits.
Sure.
And just knowing when that is, right? And even sometimes you feel like you can't make deposits for people because they're so accomplished, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, like I'll never be able to like do a deposit for them, but I'll like I'm gonna be making a withdrawal. But in karmically, right? Like you're gonna make a withdrawal from somebody, but you're gonna make tons of deposits elsewhere.
Absolutely.
And if you live in the attitude of deposits, a lot of that you have the opportunity to do all of that. And I think that's also kind of an imposter syndrome hack as well. Like, and something I've learned from going into rooms is kind of like, I think about even Lori, for example. There's been times where Lori and Chris have poured into me so much, and I'm like, oh, like I'm not even paying to be in any of your programs. Like there's no, like even Chris, when I left the Elite, because I was pregnant, he messaged me on like January 2nd. He's like, what are your big goals? I was like, I've unsubscribed from this service. Like I have no goals. And we were just like laughing about it. I was like, did you mean to send this to me? He's like, yeah, I'm super still interested. And there are times where I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'd make a deposit for them. And then, you know, Lori's looking for ghosty investors. And I'm like, I actually know some people who are looking to grow their portfolio. Like, let me make some intros, right? So you just never know how you'd be able to serve other people. And I think all of us live in that energy too of like making referrals, knowing like, you know, we might be withdrawing in some way, but we have lots of different ways we can make deposits.
Absolutely. Sorry, go ahead, Liv.
Well, I was just going to say, I think sometimes we can think it needs to be something really grand, but sometimes it could also just be like sharing an episode of that person's podcast.
Totally.
Or the link to their book so you can get it on Amazon, and just showing those little value adds, those little deposits on repeated action is a beautiful example of making deposits. That's not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to invest $50K into your program, room, event, retreat, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's those small little things that actually cost you $0 other than 2 minutes of your time.
Yeah, totally. Love that. Matt,
I
what are you gonna say?
was going to say, you know, it's interesting how, you know, there's times where you're the nugget, chicken nugget, and then there's other times you're a rotisserie chicken.
See, I think this guys, give me some credit for this analogy.
There's a lot of
you want
chicken
one?
here.
Here's
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Sometimes you're the air fryer.
Oh.
And
Okay.
so you hold the space for everybody else.
So like high vibe women,
exactly.
Kristina is the air
That
fryer.
is
I'm the
what
air
I'm getting
fryer.
at. So my point with all of
Like
this
what are you thinking?
is
Like a Tefal, a Ninja.
Yeah, what's your air fryer of choice? Because you're a big cooking guy.
I am a big cooking guy. I'm whatever's on sale.
Matt
It all
used to
works the
be.
same.
Matt used to have an Instagram. What was it? Biceps and Brussels sprouts.
Well
Nice
done.
job.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because I remember when I was like, you need to work on your personal brand, my
Yes.
dude. His Instagram was Arruda 911, which I did not know at the time there was a 911 car.
So the idea of an air fryer, to me, I think, as you're telling me this story, is a real testament to who you are as a person. You're talking about how sometimes you are the chicken nugget, and other times you're slightly bigger than the chicken nugget. God damn it, Kristina Bartold, sometimes you are the entire convection oven. Because you are that kind of a person for a lot of people, right? You just are. You literally hold the space for all the nuggets and for all the other little nuggets to grow into rotisserie chickens one day.
Oh, that's so
But you
sweet.
really, truly do. And the fact that you haven't even thought of that yet is beyond me. Like, you're so smart and quick. How that didn't come to you?
It
I'm not
never
sure.
came to me.
Yeah, that's because you're so honest with yourself. But truly, we see it, and
I see it in you
absolutely.
guys too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But like, really, the events that you have curated to where they have been to what they are now growing to be with consistency, and the amount of people that reach out to you to want to be a part of it internationally, I'm talking about, not just some neighbors at your local gym. Like, you should be really, really proud of that space that you've created. So, but even in saying that, as a means of ensuring that everyone who's listening to this, who might not necessarily be a air fryer yet,
Yeah.
do you still feel like in the moments of leading up to these events and in holding the space in these massive rooms, having hundreds of women show up accordingly, do you still feel, even though you've done this before, that, holy shit, what am I doing in a room like this?
Totally. And sometimes some of the women that come to the events, I'm like, hee, what you doing here? Like most of them actually. And like even early stage, I just feel so grateful for their trust. But sometimes you're a popcorn chicken. There's lots of different,
That's right.
lots of different
That's right.
seasons.
Yeah, it's very true.
Allie's never any of the chickens.
I can't
Allie's
be
the
a
grilled
popcorn
chicken.
She's the grilled
yeah,
chicken.
grilled chicken, some lemon juice. Yeah,
Yeah,
that-
maybe
yeah.
salt and pepper.
Yeah, maybe salt and pepper. There's
Not
no
too much
seasoning.
salt.
There's no seasoning. But I definitely feel that. And I often am just so like honored and overwhelmed by like what's happening and feel like a little like why me kind of thing. Like, because there's lots of events, right? And lately I've been coaching a ton of people who've been having trouble selling tickets for events.
Sure.
Our event is 6 months away. We have over 115 tickets sold. So it's like, that's a huge blessing. Like,
Absolutely.
I don't take that for granted. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But I just think there's just so much, like, when you find people who can like us, right? Like, we've opened doors for each other. When you find people, that's why I'm so passionate about this. When you find people who can open doors for you, there's just so much potential. And I always feel like a huge level of imposter syndrome, like when I go on stage or I get to do any of that stuff, like for high vibe women. But also sometimes I think like that keeps you humble, right? Like, I don't think I ever want to get to a point where I'm running an event for 250 women or, I don't think it'll go too much past that, but I just want to maintain some of the love. But, I don't think I'm ever going to go on stage and be like, hee, I'm here. Like, now it's my time. It's like, no, like, this is such an honor. And I think, just, to think on this a little bit for those of you who are listening, if you have fears like that, or you're worried, or you have imposter syndrome, sometimes that's like a really good sign
Absolutely.
that you're doing something that's stretchy and that feels like I remember the first time when I was in the elite, I remember being in the bathroom right beforehand being like, oh, I'm the chicken nugget. Like this, I'm the chicken nugget here. Or like I'm in Maison, which is a group of 7-figure women. And everyone I talk to is like, oh, I'm doing $5 million here and $12 million there. Or like
Canadian?
Yeah, literally. I'm like, you must. Or like, I'll always tell the story. It's so funny. But Maria and I go to a Founders Club, right? The average person in Founders Club makes $12 million a year, American.
Wow.
So I'm a chicken. I'm the popcorn chicken. I'm the crust that's fallen off the popcorn chicken in the air fryer.
Shake and
The
bake.
burnt crust.
That's
I'm the
fallen off.
shake and bake salt being like, pick me up. So I'm in there, and it's so. What is this episode going to be titled? I need to know. But we did it for SEO. Chicken bake recipes. But we're I'm in there, and so Maria and I get into the elevator, and this guy's standing there, and I'm like, oh hey, like what do you do? And he's like, oh, I work in go to market. And like, go to market, like kind of bringing things out into the market kind of thing. And he gets out of the elevator, Maria looks at me, she goes, what market? And we're laughing, and it's like, that's such a common phrase, but like she didn't know it. And we always laugh about whatever anyone says, like capital market. We're like, what do you mean by that? Like, it's now a big joke. But like, it's just so good to be around those kinds of people and to feel a little stupid.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like we were sitting there and this woman, do you know Adley? Have you heard of Adley? Yeah. She spoke at one of the elites. She's like, does 1 billion of impressions a month in videos.
Wow.
And the words that were coming out of that woman's mouth, Maria and I were quite literally like, we work in social. We were like, no comprende. Like there was we were not getting there.
Sure.
So I think it's just like important to put yourself in that environment and find those spaces where you can be that person. And you've done that as well.
Oh yeah, and it's so funny. You're saying this, I'm listening, and I'm thinking of like, oh my gosh, there was a time where I was like, SEO, what does that mean? VSL. I'm like learning things, and now I've got it all sorted out, guys. Like, fear not. But it's amazing when you're around those conversations.
Yeah.
Where I think there's something to be said for the confidence play, where you're like, absolutely, yeah, SEO. And then you quietly go to the bathroom. You're like, okay, I just need a quick Google search or a chat search of like, what does that mean? And you can play the part, and almost like we've talked about this before, of like assuming the role before you're ready.
Yeah.
And maybe you do need to also borrow the belief of like, absolutely, I belong in this room. I'm happy to be the smallest fish, and I have so much to learn. And what a great opportunity that I have felt that many, many times, especially when it comes to just what you're saying about people that make like 12 million, 14 million. I have such big goals of that.
Yeah.
So I would love the opportunity to be around that energy often. And unfortunately, there's a flip side of that where I think a lot of people don't. Like, maybe they want to, but they don't take the action to do that. And I understand that so often comes with dollars to invest and your time and energy. But I think the will to want to do it and then take the action on doing it, that's the real differentiator of what's going to help you move the needle and be in those places that make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally.
You know, the one thing that I always come back to, the one thing that I always think of, because it's not comfortable, right? Being in rooms where you don't know what the acronyms stand for, you feel like an idiot sometimes. And so we've all done the quick Google search, literally live time, as to what that means. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Kind of, not really still, but whatever. But the one thing that I come back to over and over again, when you are putting yourself in these positions, in these rooms, taking on these challenges, creating these things per se, is what's your why behind any of it? To do it for the sake of doing it that doesn't last very long, right?
Yeah.
Like you run out of gas real quick if you don't know what your North Star is, if you don't know why or who you're doing it for. And if you've got a larger scale reason to answer either one of those, whether it be for your family or for your future family or whatever that needs to, a legacy play, I don't know, whatever it needs to be. I think there's a lot of different answers depending on who you ask. Obviously, North Stars are different for a lot of people, but I think the idea of kind of getting back to, we're all going to face some form of imposter syndrome at some point, and probably
Repeatedly.
Yeah, often.
Yeah.
Which is a good sign. Like you said, it means you're in a place in which you are stretching yourself. But I think a way to get through that quicker is as a means of asking yourself and being truthful with yourself, why are you doing this? Not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur.
True.
That's just a fact. And I don't think that's anybody who's listening to this, because you are crushing it on the entrepreneurship base of everything podcast. So both of you are, quite frankly. So I think your listeners combined are here for the reason of wanting to be the best entrepreneur they can. And so I think one of the things to take away from it is asking yourself consistently, why are you doing this? Why did you choose such a difficult road? And it can be remarkably fulfilling, but it doesn't take away from times it being very, very challenging. So recircling, recentering back to your why allows you to kind of fight off Senor Imposter a little bit easier.
Okay, I have one last question. We can wrap up this topic for now. What is the difference to you guys on like borrowing belief and like kind of being it before you see it and faking it till you make it?
What is the difference?
Well, do you think there's a difference? And like, because for me,
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
My short answer is yes.
Thank God.
Because
I'm faking it right now.
Because I think it also comes down to, I think,
make it.
the integrity behind it.
Yeah.
So I think like for sure there's an element of like fake it till you make it with confidence, and how you answer that with confidence and having the intention to then take the action on the back end, whether it's like you need to get an answer for someone. So you have to go ask somebody else, and then you're going to circle back to that person and have the integrity to give them the answer versus just faking it and having no intention of doing that.
Yeah.
And I think also borrowing belief. Like I think there is a fine line, but I think it comes down to like who you are and like the integrity of you at your core.
Yeah, the big part of what you mentioned is kind of what I would base my answer in. I think a lot of it, again, comes back down to why are you doing this? Why are you deciding to take on any part of what it is that might allow or might force you to be in a position of, I don't want to say faking it, as it means I would almost rather reframe that and say you're figuring it out.
Yeah.
And so if you are really, really secure in the reason why you're moving towards the goal you're moving to, there's nothing wrong with you not knowing the answers and trying to figure it out along the way, which is different from intentionally giving the wrong answer because you don't know it. That I think that part of being fake and in the process giving a poor amount of advice or having a off-centered response to something, that's where the difference is between, fake it till you make it and then just recentering it to saying or feeling like you're more just figuring it out until you get there.
I think leading with value, that if you have valuable feedback or a valuable answer for someone, like a mastermind's a perfect example. You don't necessarily need to raise your hand just to speak for the sake of speaking. If you have value to provide to your peer, then speak.
Yeah.
If not, then don't worry about it. Just be an active listener.
I love the people who ask questions too, right? Because, the people who ask the questions, regardless of what room they're in, it allows you to kind of see their vulnerable side. It's them not saying, hey, I know everything, so I don't need to have anything answered, right? And the people who are asking the questions, to your point too, Kristina, they become the sponges in whatever room that they're in. They're the ones who walk away with the most. They win. They're the ones who win because if they're spending the money and the time to be in the rooms with people who do have more experience than them, have done the thing quicker or at least earlier than they have, what a waste of an opportunity to not ask the questions of how they got there, right?
Yeah, I know. I love that. Also, I think Matt, spot on in so many ways because I just think when I think of the most successful people I know, I think about my peers and founders club, my high level friends, including you guys, they are the people who are not afraid to say they don't know how to do something and they just outsource it.
That's right.
And they make smart hiring choices and they are experts in what it is that they do and they don't pretend they're experts in everything. And I think it's always a sign of somebody who's faking it when they pretend to be experts in everything.
Absolutely.
And then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're certainly not an expert. I literally about AI, I've been thinking about this all week. I'm like, I don't know anything. But even Maria, she's like, Kelly for saying this publicly, she bought a sham version of Claude by accident. And she's like, how am I ever going to get a hold of AI when I can't even log into AI?
Clyde?
It's a weird, when
Jean-Claude?
when you buy Claude, if you type in Claude, someone's bought, some kind of AI has bought a Google ad. So she purchased it.
That's
And then
hilarious.
she was like, it's so weird, it's
Holy
shitty. And
crap,
I was like,
that's
no,
funny.
Claude's amazing. Look. And then I was like, you crazy you did that. We're laughing about it. And then it happened to me too. I went on and I was like, why doesn't my Claude login work? And I'm like, because I'm not on Claude. Perfect, right? But I'm not pretending I'm an AI expert. You're not going to see me jumping on reels being like, here's your chat GPT prompt, right? I'm going to pay people to figure this out for me. And I'm going to, be humble about that. But I could definitely be an expert in some other areas.
But what you've done, Kristina, is you've put yourself in rooms to know who are the AI experts.
Totally.
Not just to help you, but also to help the people that come to you who need help in that. Because now you become the person who does know the answer. I know who you can go to help you with that prompt because that person helped me and that's their zone of genius.
I think that's one of the most valuable things about masterminds. And since Matt and I just got back literally a couple weeks ago from this year's Elite Mastermind, I know we're wrapping this up here, but it was just fresh on my mind to really point out that so often, I swear there are people that go into masterminds or rooms, however you want to define them, looking for what is the ROI I can extract and how can I make my investment back? And we've had a unique experience over these last few years investing in masterminds where we don't, because we have a brick and mortar luxury gym in Burlington, Ontario. So for someone that lives in Scottsdale, you are not going to come. Maybe you want to join our gym, but you're not because obviously logistics. But we have gained so much value in terms of the relationships and the network. So exactly what you're saying, that you aren't an expert in AI, but you know Jim Carter.
Yeah, exactly. Who's one of the mentors of the Mentor Collective.
Yes.
That's right.
See how that all comes back? You are such a sorcerer.
Well, I was going to ask you, who's the air fryer of AI? And you were gonna say Jim Carter. I was gonna set you up.
He is the air fryer. That guy might be like
He's like the electricity.
Like,
Yes, he might be the electricity
The
of
AI
AI.
electricity.
This is out of control, guys.
Yeah,
this is out
this
of
is
control.
nuts. We haven't even had our rosé yet.
Not yet. Okay, guys, what we are grateful for you listening. We want to jam out on this idea of imposter syndrome. DM us, even Matt Arruda.
Yeah,
Matt.Arruda.
that's right.
Yes, I think I changed his username one day.
Not biceps and Brussels sprouts.
And then-
I don't answer
Arruda
that.
9/11.
Yeah.
And then Alli went to Layla Hermosi's event and then put everything in all caps. And I had to message Matt. And I was like, take the caps out. You need to take the caps out. Are they all still in caps?
They sure are.
Yeah.
All right, but they won't be by the time Kristina leaves the studio.
Let us know what you are thinking, how imposter syndrome has come up for you and if you are going to try any of the tips that we provided. But you know what? Sometimes you're the popcorn chicken and sometimes you are the air fryer. And I think that's the message of today.
And who wins? Who
You
wins
need,
between the
you know
popcorn
what?
chicken
You
and the
need
chicken
it.
nugget?
You need it all to be well fed.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And we'll wrap it on that note.